Welcome everybody to another episode of Outwired. It's been like a month. I feel like do you know the comedians like you Bill Maher or what's the guy on HBO that used to host the Daily Show?
John Oliver.
Yeah, John Oliver. Like you always get to this point where like, and it usually is the same time every year. I think it's like August, September-ish something. They take their like summer breaks. And then, like, it's always the time and period where something really shitty happens. And
Yeah.
you're like, "Fuck, I just really need some
seems like it.
comedy." Like, where the fuck is the new episodes? Where are you guys at? So I feel like that was us. We just took a whole month off, but it was worth it. Like, and it, like I was traveling all over. I don't know what you did. Like, I was expecting to see you at conferences, and you were like, "I'm coming to conferences." So we're like, "All right, we're gonna have breaks." And then you were like, "Just kidding." And then you stayed home, and I missed you, and I cried. But
Well, I did too, but I worked on some development stuff in that interim. I used the opportunity to kind of take a step back and gather myself, as they say.
Okay. Well, what did you work on? Can you tell us? Is it a secret?
It's not really a secret, because if I give you all the details, that's what the secret is.
Oh,
But
okay.
basically, what I worked on are some new metrics to use, and I tested those. I came up with a new segmentation profile that it kind of looks at. I did two new metrics. Two
Do you
new.
have this while you're drinking? Are you drinking?
Yeah, I got.
All right, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but this is my good Dunville stuff. Belfast.
One metric is on, and this is a topic I've talked about a lot, over the months. You guys have heard me talk about ad nauseum, which is emotion, the emotional connection people have to whether it's the outdoors, to experiences, to whatever it is. And if you're in marketing, obviously emotion is a big deal. So I developed and tested a battery of questions that get to that. And
It's your emotion.
yeah.
Okay.
And what parts of the experience do they attach to? So as a marketing person, what I could do is hand you a report that says, here's where people are, most vulnerable here, but here's what they're most motivated by emotionally, and also profiling the guests, taking the people who are the most attached emotionally to an activity, what camping or glamping or whatever, and profiling them, and who are the least, and how do you address that from a communications and marketing perspective.
Okay, so is the questions proprietary, or is the way you analyze the data, or both
Both.
proprietary?
The both are.
So if I said like, ask me the questions right now, you wouldn't want to do that?
No.
Okay. I was just interested if you could psychographically like profile me.
The other one is, and this is something I came up with after talking with someone in a completely different industry that we're going to potentially work with. It's a brand that's coming into the market of kind of small home appliances like air fryers and stuff like that. And it's I call it the brand risk index.
Okay.
This one, and what I've done is I've also tested it for the outdoors. So say you've never stayed at a campground before. What we do is we ask these questions, and what they identify are the areas of that we would consider the highest risk for someone. In everything we do, there's a little bit of risk. You know, when I say risk, it isn't like skydiving. It's, you know, purchase risk. So what this does is it tells you, you know, where's the cognitive dissonance here? Is it social risk? Is it financial risk? Is it, you know, what part of this transaction is driving their behavior, and whether or not they'll actually, you know, book a night at your campground,
Okay.
your glamping park. And what I'll do, Brian, is when I'm getting ready to do it, I'm still preparing the materials for the rollout, but I'll share that with everyone. It'll just go public. So what I've written is much more lucid than me talking about it right now.
Did you write it or did AI write it?
I wrote it. I had AI check me though.
AI writes everything I do. I don't have any brains anymore.
What I do is I write it down and then tell AI to create a stronger narrative behind it.
Okay.
So, but you'll see, and you'll be able to see that. And so, yeah, I'm gonna bring these new metrics out, and I think they're strong. Again, I've tested and verified the validity of those, and they're strong. They're strong indices that I think marketing teams could really get their hands around, like, because it's pretty obvious, and it really gets to the heart of some of this stuff that we talk about a lot. But I wanted to, as I always do, I wanted to find a way to measure it, and so that's and I mentioned earlier on the program that we on Fireside Chats that I am working on this Gen Z stuff. It's still early on, but I've been thinking about it a lot because some of the research that we've done, some of the work with KOA, we've seen that the Gen Z group is really consistently a high at-risk group of even the people who have participated, of there being a lot of attrition within that group. And I feel like there's some stuff we can do. And so we're going to put that initiative together. I'd like, as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to get some good heads and minds in the industry kind of around this topic and create kind of an initiative almost.
Are we going to do this as part of MC Reports, or is this a standalone thing you're doing?
I think it could be part of MC Reports. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we still got to have a discussion about bringing that back in 2026, but we're going to do some really cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, anyway, these are, this is kind of where my head's been at during the time away. It's like, it's been a weird time, to be honest. There's been some weird stuff happen, and that's all right. It kind of pushed me along the path to approach some of these things.
Yeah, you never want weird things to happen, but sometimes they help.
Yeah, they do. It gives you some perspective. It's like it really does. And yeah. So it was good. It was productive. I'm pleased. I'm pleased with where things are. Some renewed enthusiasm on my part.
Can you hear that, by the way, when I accidentally hit the bottom of my mic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did that once, and then I realized it sounds like a cymbal.
It kind of does, yeah.
Probably gonna break my glass, but I'm trying to let it like breathe. I don't know if this is a thing. So it's Dunville. Oh, it's a PX cast. I thought it was like a 15-year. Never mind. So I guess I don't need to let it breathe. Like, is that rule true? Like somebody told me a long time ago, for every year it's aged, you're supposed to let it breathe that much. So 15 minutes for a 15-year before you drink
it. I'm not sophisticated enough to know that kind of stuff.
I don't ever do that, but I tried it when I first heard it, and it seems to, like, it definitely tastes different the more you let it breathe.
So as a beer drinker, it's like it doesn't need to breathe at all because it's not old. So Prost.
There are some really nice aged beers. Wow, that's so strong. I don't drink whiskey as much as I used to anymore. I was at KOA, and Clint Bell introduced me to a really nice Angel's Envy green rye. It was quite delicious. We were drinking that at the bar. I still have to get a bottle of it, but it's pretty delicious. I'm not a big rye person, but so yeah, like I mean, I spent the last month, as you guys know, I've told for those of you who've seen me at conferences and stuff, I've told this story many times, but we were in Croatia at the end of October, beginning of November, at the Croatian camping conference, and a few days for vacation too. But just to be over there with, it's my first European conference, and I spent some time on a panel. We talked about AI, which is really interesting because they did the whole thing in Croatian, and I had like a pair of earphones on, and there was Italian people there who were having the same, thing. But like you had to listen to the question in Croatian, and you wait for the translation in your ear, and then you had to answer, and then they translate it back into Croatian. So they could all speak English. Most of them could, but like it's not your preferred first language. So, but it was really interesting to be there and sit in some of the sessions and see how some of the problems that they have with permitting, and is a home a mobile home if it's on wheels, and how far away can it be from the coast, and just some of the same things that we often think are unique problems that only we have, but the industry has a lot of the same problems no matter where you go, with regulations and permitting and figuring things out. But it really is interesting to see how advanced the European camping market is in the guest experience. And what I mean by that is, like, if you go, and I noticed this especially after the conference, if you drive down some of the main roads in Croatia, you will see like big, huge signs for camping resorts. Whereas, like, yes, of course, there's billboards here, but like it's much more prominent, almost on an equal footing as hotels is in those specific coastal areas of Europe, Croatia, Barcelona, France. A lot of people who come down from the north in the summer, like they're coming to go camping, period. That's what they're doing. It's not I just want to be in a sunnier location near the ocean. And certainly some people are staying in hotels, but like it's a pretty majority, like we're coming down with our caravan, or we're coming down with our tent, we're going camping. We want to be outside. And I think the tourists more stay in the hotels. Certainly it's not like 99% to zero, right? But my guess is it's probably close to 50-50, if not higher.
Wow.
And so it's more established over there. But the resorts that these guys are building in Croatia, some of this stuff is just crazy. I think I sent you a couple pictures, but like there's one called, I think it's Aminus. I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong, but Aminus Resort in Croatia that has built private pools on every single one of their RV pads. So like you pull an RV pad in, you have your own private pool at your RV site. It's crazy. I think there's for sure a market for that in the United States, like not a saturated market, but I think if you're outside of New York City or something like that, well,
Sure.
maybe not, yeah, maybe not in New York City, because where are you going to park your RV while you're in the city? But some higher end place that, like a Tahoe or something like that, right? Or a Vegas, or well, for sure a Vegas. Like you could even do that in downtown, right?
Right. Yep.
But that it's just really interesting how they've stepped back, and they have like a lot of these, like they call them mobile homes. Like we have mobile homes here. We have a more negative connotation toward mobile homes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think over, like, their cabin rentals are called mobile homes over there. If in many of the places, as I understood it. So, but they have huge luxury resorts where those mobile homes have their own private pools. And you heard Simon on the show earlier today from Camp Map, who lives in Croatia, is from the UK, was talking about how there's no real split between glamping and, like, over here we have the people who own campgrounds and RV parks who have tried to get into glamping, and some who are very successful, who have put the glamping side by side, interwoven with their RV sites, separated into different sections, but it's the same kind of, they still call themselves an RV park or campground, but they have glamping too, or cabin rentals too, or whatever. And then there are the separate glamping resorts here in the United States and Canada, and Mexico too. Miguel was on the show, who like are standalone, like they don't have any RV sites or caravan sites or tent sites. This is all they are, is glamping, or whatever the word is you want to describe yourself. But it seems like for the most part, other than the UK, now I know there are some exceptions in UK because we have a ton of people on the show from the UK, from Fireside Chats, who have their own individual glamping resorts, and I've stayed at a couple over there. I think that's the exception. But like what Simon was saying is basically in Europe, and we didn't see any of these either when I was over there really are no standalone glamping resorts. There are just literally like these like campsites who have merged the two between caravan, tent, and glamping, and they're all like they're very well landscaped and designed and focused on the guest experience and separated and still like right. But and so I found that interesting because you and I've had that conversation before of how like there's certainly a market for the people who want to stay in a cabin rental at a campground.
Yep.
But that's a different market we thought, and maybe that's will hold true and we will be right in the United States, but not in Europe. We thought there was a separate place for the glamping resort that is independent and standalone. But really, when you step back and think about it objectively, that really is a Marriott Bonvoy Outdoors. A luxury resort is that standalone glamping resort. Whereas and I hate to use the word lower end because I don't want to minimize the beautiful, amazing work that a lot of these parks are doing, right? But like lower end in price, a little bit affordable. Where like if you have a cabin rental or glamping intertwined with RV sites, caravan sites, tent camping, I think there's a ceiling sometimes on the amount you can charge for that.
Correct. I would agree with that. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. If Europe has evolved that way, it'll be interesting to see if we evolve that way too, where we as in the outdoor hospitality industry, campgrounds, RV parks, take the lower and middle of that spectrum, and the higher end ends up evolving into like luxury hotels that are not hotels, but more focused on the outdoor experience. I'm curious what you think. I'm trying to shut up now. I'm talking too much.
No. That's it does seem that that's kind of it feels like that's kind of the direction we're heading. It just feels that way to me. And when you look at what's happening out there, it seems like that's where people want to be. If in reality, if someone wants like a higher end glamping experience, they're going to seek a place that's what it is. The whole park. That's if they're going to be paying several $100s a night for it, that's going to be their expectation. So the mixed model really has a place, but it's not going to be the high-end luxury market that's included in that, in my view. So,
well, I mean, it can be, but I think it has to be done in such a way like Croatia is doing it, or France is doing it, where it's really, really heavy on the guest experience. If you have a mixed use property that has caravans, camping, tent sites, and glamping, mobile homes, cabin rentals, luxury outdoor accommodations, whatever you want to call it, if it's mixed use, and you have a fucking private pool, and there's like tall hedges around your yard, and like you've done, like even if they're 10 feet away from each other, if there's super tall hedges that make it super private, and you got your own private pool, and it's almost like a home, right? Not, and again, I hate to use, not an affordable type cabin that perhaps one or two companies in the United States might manufacture that perhaps isn't as luxury as we might be talking about in this conversation. Is that a good like super cop out? Like, but like a real luxury mobile home, right? Then I think that changes the game. So I think you can do mixed use and do luxury. No, I know you can because Croatia's doing it. Like they're doing it. Like some of these, like these are charging 400 to 600 euros a night for some of these camping sites. Now, to be fair, they're also on the coast of Croatia, which is a beautiful, beautiful location. Right. Not all of them are on the coast though, but and they do have the benefit of, as I understand it, a lot of the money is coming down from Germany of these older factory workers and older union workers in various industries who have retired now, but had like 6-figure union salary. Like they have a lot of money saved up, right? So they can spend a lot more. But I think there's a case for mixed use to be done perfectly fine. I think you just have to make sure that you isolate it and that people can't
Right.
see the RV next door.
Correct. That right. The layout, design, all those things, landscaping, would be huge. Because I would agree with that. I would agree with that assessment. But it has to be done carefully. There are some RV resorts now that you can go to that pay a few $100 a night, and they're kind of like that. That you park your Class A on there, and it's pretty isolated. You have privacy and all that. So that there are some places that are experimenting with that. They're pretty small boutique places currently, but I'd be interested. I mean, I have to say that in the last year, I've probably talked to more people who are at least thinking about those types of setups than I did in the past. Because it kind of covers your bases. It strengthens your offering. It offers you the opportunity for different rates, to attract a different type of guest as well. So, but again, it has to be done. It has to be planned out really well to execute it.
I'm trying to find an example of this real quick. Hold on, let me see. I'm trying to find a YouTube video. Well, we can just look at pictures. All right, let's just look at pictures. So this is, can you share my screen real quick, Jessica? Just hit that button. So this is Ammonus. They have a couple locations, right? So if you come up to campsites, they have, I think, a couple different locations. Oops, sorry. If you go here and you go to campsites, then they have these two. I'm going to pronounce these wrong because it's not like the Croatian dialect, but Serena and Meravia. And then I guess they have other ones here on the island of Kirk and the island of Pag. I'm definitely pronouncing this wrong. And Korčula. I might be pronouncing that right because I know that's a CH, but probably not. And so if you go to we'll go to like Serena, like these are, like this is what you're talking about, right? Like that's these are the pitches, which are the caravan sites, right? They don't have the big things, so in the front, and you can see like these are really. I mean, most of it's there, but there's the bathroom. Like, look at the fucking bathroom, right? What the fuck? And here's like like they're literally called holiday homes, right? So like you have your own private pool there. And this is this is not a cabin that you're buying that we typically see, right? But there are manufacturers over there that are making this stuff. And so then there's the landscaping. You can kind of see the rows, and I'll see if I can find better pictures in a second. But you can see the rows between the homes of trees and all that stuff. And it's just private. I don't know if there's actually I'll see if I can find a video on YouTube here that we can watch. YouTube Ammonus camping. This is what happens when we come prepared to shows. Here's 5 months ago. Let's see what this is. We won't have audio on it because I'm sharing on the wrong screen, but that's all right. This is so see that they're still close together. This is maybe a not as well landscaped example, right? So they're still right next to each other, but I think so. This one benefits from the sea being the right.
Right. Everybody's attention is pointed out at the sea. So, and they've tiered the layout. So if you're on the ground, it's going to be a little bit different than it looks like from this angle because of that the differential levels.
There, do you see that though? There's the. Did you see the private pool on the caravan site? Ah, fuck! Keep missing it. Right there.
Yep.
The caravan site and a private pool. What the fuck?
That's wild. That is wild.
I didn't know that was the one that they did it at.
It's right on the water too. I mean, come on, people would if you had that.
The Ribbit out there or whatever that company is that's over there. Did you see that? See the fuck? You're not clicking back enough. I'm a terrible person. See the Wibbit out there?
Oh yeah.
In the Mediterranean Sea or whatever. And then there's this is probably a restaurant or a clubhouse down here or something like that. And I'm imagining this feels like this is like a wine vineyard or something. is what this dirt patch looks like to me. Like, I don't know what time of year they filmed this, but it looks like a vineyard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or some kind of crops are growing there. And what else are you going to put there? Like, the Croatian coast is big with vineyards. We just drove through it, so let's see if I can find. But that's kind of the difference, right? So it for sure can work in this mixed use glamping area. I'm just curious what else there is, but luxury sea village down there. So there's tennis courts and yeah, more vineyards and so yeah, it's a completely different, like when you think about guest experience, it's just completely different than what you think of over here.
Right, right. I think you too in Europe, and someone out there, maybe you knows this better than I do. My understanding of the European attitude toward where they stay too is they don't have as much of an issue of being closer to other guests. For example, hostels are really big in Europe, where people
Yeah.
are all staying in one big room. They don't, whereas here, they're it's fairly limited. Appalachian Trail hikers are about the only people who stay in hostels, and um, so and again, someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but it feels to me that this is a much more social type of setup too. That
Yeah.
people will interact with each other a little bit more, and I'm not saying that's a negative at all. In fact, I think it's a positive. Um,
But
but yeah,
even if they don't, like I think they just to your point, I don't think they mind being next to each other
right.
as
It doesn't.
as
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
they don't have hang-ups about it.
But it's just yeah, I mean, look at this fucking fresh bread. What
And
the fuck?
cheese. It's I saw the cheese.
Like it's just crazy. So like I mean, obviously this is the coast. You can't really duplicate this if you're not on the coast. But still like the landscaping, the features, the private decks. Like this isn't like a small deck, right? The outdoor gyms, and some of this stuff is duplicated it certainly, right? And there are some really nice luxury resorts to be clear in the United States. No one's saying that like Europe has a, monopoly on all this stuff. But this is just a whole this is a fucking Marriott resort, right? Like I mean this is a
Yeah,
resort. I mean some of the Jellystones come close to this with the water parks, but they don't come anywhere close to this with like a food, chefs, restaurants, right? Like this does not exist. I've never seen this at a resort of this size. I've seen chefs at boutique glamping experiences before, but I've never seen it at a camping resort like this. Have you?
no, no,
But I think that's because of the market too. Like I'm not sure that there's a demand for that, and maybe it just never has been had. There now, you know what? There is a demand for it because luxury hotels, right?
correct, correct.
So, but it's just a whole different thing. I don't think that. Do you think that shopping? Do you think that store is actually at the place?
I do,
Wow,
I do.
crazy. Okay. Anyway, sorry. All right, we're done with this.
No, and that kind of thing. When you really start putting it all together, that the idea that you can go and you can have a chef prepare a meal for you. You can get fresh bread and cheese, or you can go grocery shopping and prepare your own stuff. And that, I don't know, it gives everybody a decent option, and you can cut costs if you want by preparing your own meals, or go to the chef every day. It's like at least you have that choice.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the ancillary revenue. Like, I mean, I talked about this place quite a bit already, I think, from my Ireland trip, but Finn Loch that we went to, like, it's just, I say just, right? But it's like, I don't know, I guess we just play a video and see what's in here. So we stayed in one of these, I guess apparently I can't pause it. We stayed in one of these bubble tents, right? This is where Krista and I stayed when we went to Ireland in Finlock in one of these bubble tents. And they're just situated on the river and you can see like the river, but the whole resort has this. It's spread out over so many acres and it was a little chilly when we were there in September. So we didn't get to use like all the things. but they have like a spa and an outdoor fireplace and kayak rentals, and like it's all isolated. And then this like 5-star chef experience restaurant that like just makes everything. Like it's and they're in the middle of nowhere. So it's like there's a play on like everybody who has to stay here, but there's only probably like 20 to 30 glamping rentals there. But it's guaranteed, like you're basically guaranteeing yourself that almost everybody's going to eat at your 5-star restaurant. Your
Mm,
luxury experience, your whatever, right?
right.
So like I think there's an underestimation of how powerful something like a restaurant or a spa or like a real restaurant and a real spa can be. And I think that's just because there's such a gap between the luxury high-end market and where we've talked about the RV park has been in the United States the last
Right.
50 or 60 years. And I think once we are able to figure out a way to meld that, which I'm pretty sure Europe went through the same thing. I'm not saying they just woke up one morning and figured this out, right? I'm pretty sure that once we go through that and learn that there's going to be a whole new market that opens up for people to truly provide luxury experiences. Yeah, we're done sharing for now. I
Yeah,
mean,
that that really illustrates though some of um, a lot of the things that we've been talking about for a while. These this idea of the experience for that, and that's the situation. The first one, right there on the ocean or the sea. I shouldn't say the ocean. It was the but
that's
right at the beach, and it you capture that kind of the quality of that kind of stay anyway, and now you're putting people there so they can it just seemed like this is gonna be really relaxing, and that's what people want. They're gonna spend that money, they want to stay someplace nice and they want to relax. And the fact that what they've done is even for someone in an RV slash caravan who shows up, they can have that same level of experience. They can eat at the restaurant if they want. They can shop at the store. They can go to the gym. They have their own private pool. It's like, um, yeah, it's
here's another one. Share this one. I just looked this up on YouTube. I literally looked up French luxury glamping resort. Like again, I know we don't have any audio here, right? But like, look at this pool. I mean, that's like something you'd see at a Cedar Point water park, right?
mhm,
Like, I mean, yes, some of the yogis have this stuff, right? But the difference with the yogis is that this is wonderful. It's amazing for families. They don't have maybe the indoor stuff, right? But then you go back to the, I don't want to say they're not luxury, but not luxury accommodations. They're not bad accommodations, right? They're really nice, but you don't go back to the mobile homes like you saw here, right? So
right.
that's where I'm saying there's an opportunity for a new market. I'm not saying Yogi needs to change or Yogi's doing anything wrong or anything like that, right? But I
Mhm,
think there's a new market for that like complete luxury experience, which Yogi doesn't want to target, to be clear, right?
mhm.
But I think I mean, this is, so it's not just Croatia was my point in showing this, right? I mean, look, here's the accommodation rooms here, right? I mean, that's completely different. And it's the same on the outside almost, but the interior, like if you just go back here and look at like that, like nobody's designing cabins like that I've seen. Have you?
No, no, that's pretty spacious.
So
Yeah,
it's spacious, but it's also the design. It's thinking
right.
about the colors and the type of the table and the type of the chairs and the couch cushions and obviously this is a promotional video, but I will tell you, I went to set in France, which is the Outdoor Hospitality Conference and Expo for the 7 southern regions of France. There were 20,000 people there and 130 different exhibitors, or 100, no, sorry, 130, 730 different exhibitors. And this is what we saw. We saw like vendors who had like 200 by 200 square foot booth space selling tables and chairs and pillows and plants and plates and furniture and paint. And like they're so focused on the guest experience over there And I don't know whether this comes from the manufacturer this way or whether the owners do it later or how that works. But everywhere you look there was guest experience focused. And so that's where I think like eventually you have to end up going. This is a cool game, by the way. You keep stopping sharing, Jessica, but like I think we need this game. Watch this bubble game here that they just did. This bubble game right here. We need this for kids. That's crazy cool. You see that?
I've seen that before. I've seen that
Here in the United States?
Yeah.
We need that for sure. That would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah. You put kids in that thing and just let them ram into each other and get out some good energy and aggression.
Yeah. Like little plays and like and other resorts can do this too. Like Yogi is the king of it in the United States, but like you can easily create your own characters. Like especially for a younger audience. They just want something fun and interesting and engaging and like, wow, that's amazing, especially at your 2 to 6-year-old age, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can easily do something like that. Anyway, that's all I have on guest experience. But to the point that I think Miguel was making from the Mexican Glamping Association on Fireside Chats earlier, is that guest experience does have to balance with the other things. It all has to match together, right? Like you
Correct.
can provide guest experience, but you also have to have the product. So this is similar to like you can provide a great guest experience, and I'm really not picking on Yogi. I'm just trying to give an example. I don't think they're doing anything wrong, but the guest experience might be the water park, and the product where you stay in might be I don't want to say a business name, a cabin, like a regular cabin that you'd see at a campground, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's a gap between the guest experience of a multi-million-dollar water park, not for Yogi's target audience, because they're doing everything they should be doing, right? But for what we just looked at in Europe, I think there's an opportunity for a luxury water park like you find at a hotel resort combined with a product that's a luxury mobile home cabin rental experience, combined with the marketing that tells the story, combined with, right?
Right.
It has to be everything together to justify that premium price.
Correct. Because that's part of the equation. It's like, what's your price? What's your price point? That's part of that's going into it and setting what the guest expects. So they all have to converge.
All right, what else we got?
Um,
In 37 minutes, we haven't talked about AI yet. That's weird for us, isn't it?
I know it is. It is. No, but I think this is a good conversation because it kind of, as you mentioned early on, the European market is more mature.
Yeah.
It just is. I mean, it's an older market. They've been around longer. They have less space than us, so they've had to make some adjustments along the way, and they have typically populations that have a lot more leisure time as well. So it's resulted in them, creating these real amazing curated experiences, for people on their trips. Yeah, that the place in Ireland, that was a Finlock that you mentioned.
Yeah,
Those
Finlock,
bubbles. That actually that was something that to me, that I'm very interested in something like that.
Yeah, and it's just and it's the same over there. It's not like they're exclusive to this. So that we're talking about the UK. So the UK is a little bit different than what we just talked about in Europe. In that they have a lot of glamping resorts that are still side by side, just like the United States does. And I can't really speak for, I want to call it mainland UK, but you understand what I'm saying. Britain. Right. I was in Ireland, and I have only been to London. I haven't been outside and around the island of Great Britain. Or in Scotland. I've been Northern Ireland. So I'm speaking mostly of Ireland here now for the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Ireland even part of the UK now? I don't even know. Like Northern Ireland is. Ireland is the EU, but are they all still part of the UK? I'm confused. Anyway, whatever. Same region of the country or the world. And so they have a lot of these glamping resorts on the coast that are still lined up side by side, but they have like these epic cliff views to the point of the Mediterranean stuff that we just saw, right? You can get away with side by side if they're looking at something that's so crazy fucking beautiful that they forget that their neighbor's there. They're not looking left or right. They're looking right fucking ahead of them, right? And then you can get away with that more. So, but it's still not our cup of jam. Like we didn't want to stay there. Like we wanted to stay in the more unique places because we were going to go see the cliffs and we were going to go see the coast anyway, like
Mhm.
on hiking trails and stuff like that. So it wasn't our jam. But there's a difference between the Finlocks, I'm saying, and they still have the other types of glamping resorts that we have over here. So I think it's more indicative of the U.S. market for glamping in the UK, whereas the European market's a whole different animal. Is my very slightly 3% educated, having been over there like
Well,
6 times.
and my knowledge is even less. So,
Yeah, I mean, we'll play more in there in 2026. Like, I want to go. I have plans to go. I want to go to Mexico and see. I was talking about Miguel to see what their market is, but I want to go. I want to try to go to Australia if I can in May to their show, and I want to go to the UK in September to the Land Leisure and Tourism show, or the glamping show at least in September. See if I can make it there and just learn more about this stuff because I think there's just so many takeaways from all these different people who are doing so many different things that in the end are the same shared problems across our industry.
right, you can see similarities, differences, and learnings, best practices. I mean, that's one of the benefits of doing that is to see what other people are doing. Does it work or not?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'd like to go to the one in Mexico as well.
Well, you can. Miguel will invite you.
Yeah,
Like,
he
I
and I
don't
have
know. I
talked
don't know
about
if I'm
doing some
going for the
research.
thing in Mexico, but I told Miguel I was going to come down and do a tour of like some of his properties and stuff. I've been trying to do that
Oh,
for
okay,
like 2
okay.
years.
Yeah, he and I talked about doing some research too. So that's what I'd like to do. I want to research the Mexican market a little bit more. I want to do more research in the European market as well too, because I think, again, having some of these base learnings that like you've picked up in our conversations with um, people like Simon and so on, it's like it speaks to the idea that there's an opportunity for us to learn a lot more from them.
Well, the company that you and I are going to talk to that I'm going to set up designed like a significant percentage of those luxury resorts that we just looked at in Croatia.
Mm.
They're the architectural firm behind that. So, yeah, there's a lot to learn from people, and I'm excited to kind of push into that market a little bit more. So, what else you got? You said you were going to talk about. Well, you talked about Gen Z, right? You want to talk about your Gen Z stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I think that'd be a great topic to address here a little bit. The as I mentioned earlier, that within the outdoor sector, the Gen Z group is they're not as attached to the outdoors as previous generations. What we see are millennials who took to the outdoors in huge numbers around the 08, 09 time frame. Bad economy. The economy was in the tank. They were
And I'm
just
listening to you, by the way. I just want like I'm taking. Do you remember when we did the conversation about this in ChatGPT about Gen Z? Where
yes.
we had it like so show this briefly, Jessica, because I don't remember this. And actually, I like literally swear to God, opened up my laptop and this was open in a tab.
Oh
Gen Z
wow.
Campground Insights. This is the laptop I never use except for the show. So we did this at some point. I don't know when this was, but it says like help me understand Gen Z from the perspective of a campground owner, deep dive into their psychology, their wants, needs, how COVID impacted them, what is their level of participation in the campground and RV park industry? Are they driving and parking and buying RVs? Do they want to be outside? Is there a negative correlation between the outdoors and COVID? How do I bring them on board, get them to participate in camping? Maybe we did this on a call together. I don't know.
I think we did that at some point. I remember doing that.
And so then it briefed me through all this, and I think this was pre GPT-5 too. But and then I said I answered its questions, a mix of all ages, whatever else. And then it gave us this, and we went through all this, which we can sync again after you talk in a second if we have time. But I said, answer those again with only your internal knowledge. What's different? And then what are you specific? Oh, that's kind of like where it was researching. Do you disagree with any of the research, et cetera? So I'm going to, while you talk, I'm going to run this through Claude. I want to see what it says in Gemini.
Okay. Yeah. So what we see is a group that's much less engaged in the outdoors. Some people call them the casual participant, and that is they'll go outside, but not very often, much less. And I was using millennials as an example. They were in a similar situation economically in 08, 09. But it's a group that was much more peer oriented, and they didn't have the COVID cloud over them too, in terms of in some of their formative years having that kind of shut them down a bit. And it's also the generation that's the result of a lot of helicopter parenting. Let's be real about it. I mean, it's true and it's real.
For those people who don't know what helicopter parenting is,
just parents that control everything about their kids. They hover over them all the time, and everything they do, they make their life decisions for them. They and the kids become almost paralyzed. They cannot make decisions very well because their parents have always made those decisions for them.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I mean, I knew what it was. I was just for anybody who's listening.
No, that's good. That's absolutely. Yeah, obviously the idea, the helicopters is they're always hovering, and I said this to someone once when I was subcontracting with another company, and I said something about that. I said I'm going to know things have really changed when a parent contacts me about getting a job for their kid, or is the primary contact for their kid when they apply for a job. And it happened to me. And then when the kid could not, and I say kid, he was a young adult, when he couldn't function in the job and we had to let him go, it was the mom who literally came into the office and just yelled at us, and he was mortified that his mom was in there yelling at us for laying him off. And he basically told his mom, it was like, Mom, I don't know how to work here, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's that generation, and through no fault of their own, this is the hand they've been dealt. And it's easy to be critical, but and I'm not being critical. I'm saying this is a generation that I feel like needs a lot of help. I mean,
we can be critical of the helicopter parents if you want. I'm fine to do that.
I'm absolutely critical of. There's zero doubt about that. And so it's like, what do we do? and since we are talking about AI, using AI in research, in fact, which is something that we've discussed a little bit too. I saw an article after the mayoral race in New York City with Mamdani and how he won. And I saw all these interviews with these young people, Gen Zers.
I'm going to see if you get into a tricky.
No, and I'm not going to talk politics at all.
Okay.
I'm going to talk the interviews with these young people who are not very social, who don't come out in groups very often, because they are not like the millennials, who mobilized for the campaign. This one young woman, 18 years old, said, she was knocking on 30 doors a day. And she goes, I'm an introvert. She goes, I never get out and do anything like this. She said, 2 months ago, if you asked me if I would do something like this, I would have probably cried. But what happened was, so what I did is I asked AI, what can we learn from this campaign?
That if we bullshit people about socialism, they will. Sorry. Oh, no politics. No politics. I'm sorry.
Now you're the one bringing in politics. I was not gonna.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm done. I'm drinking my whiskey.
Yeah, drink some more. Because the whole idea there was, what can we learn? What can we learn from what he did? How did he motivate them to come out?
I mean, I can answer that question in 2 seconds. He promised them free shit.
Please do.
That's literally the answer. He promised them free things. And they didn't do this is a whole, I don't want to get into the political discussion, right? But like he promised them that he would do rent control or like government controlled grocery stores or give them free this or free that. And instead of actually thinking about the costs, which is the part I don't want to get into, the math of how like nothing is really for free. Like if Tom Billio is a good podcaster to watch on this. He runs Impact Theory, and he has a great like he doesn't always talk about this, but he's been talking about Mondami a lot, and talks about how um, they want to do rent control. Mondami's one of Mondami's platforms is rent control. If you do rent control and you force somebody to make less rent than it takes to upkeep the building, then at some point, like who's the plumbers that are going to fix the plumbing, and who's the window people who are going to fix the windows, and who's the cleaner? At some point, you have to make everybody work for super cheap, and nobody wants to work for cheap or free. But that's what ends up being required if you want to have rent control. That's like, so it's a whole fucking mess. Is my point. But a big part of his platform was just promising shit for free and not explaining how he's going to pay for that, and that always gets people excited, not just Gen Z. But I think that was a big piece of the excitement of like life is unaffordable, inflation is high, I can't afford to buy my own house, all the things that we've talked about before, right? This is maybe a solution to this issue that I, in my younger years, haven't seen before, even though people who are older, much older than me, have seen socialism come and go and fail in other countries.
So you weren't going to talk about politics, but you just talked about.
Well, I'm not. I mean, you're bringing up Mondami, so I feel like. I mean, you asked me literally. I think that honestly is the motivation. Let's ask AI while you keep talking. I want to ask AI.
And
so I
do
don't
you
have
want me
my
to tell you what AI told me?
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm
Oh,
sure I'm wrong in some capacity.
no, it's. I mean, you're partially right, but it's the idea of how you conduct your outreach. The idea is that what you have is a group that's socially isolated already. They are wedded to digital platforms and social media. They have a fear of getting out and about, but they need a motivation. And in this case, maybe the motivation was cost. Maybe it was talking about costs. But what at the end of the rainbow, what you're not promising a reduction in costs, what you're promising is the opportunity for you to be a part of something, to be a
Okay.
part of a group, and to come out and participate with your peer group and interact with them in a meaningful way. And so the idea here is to take the Gen Z group and offer them that opportunity to have meaningful interactions, to have conversations and discussions that they enjoy with their peer group, and maybe with some influencers in their peer group. But you have to try to separate them from their from the social media part of it and use that as an enticement. And what Mamdani did was he did play on some of those fears. But if you really think about it, someone who's that fearful of socialization, in many cases, will just stay home. Even more, they'll go more into their shell. So the idea behind it is to have an idea of something that is meaningful to them. And if to bring it back to camping and glamping, is that here you're going to be part of a group, and we're going to have these activities and these opportunities for you to hang out with your peer group, and we're going to talk about things like sustainable practices in the outdoors. We're going to talk about social issues that are meaningful to them, maybe, but as it applies to the outdoors. What's going on with our national parks? What's going on with the future of our public lands, and how in energy and our energy development and stuff like that. These are things that they care about deeply. Now, if you can bring them into a campground and have them talk about these things, all of a sudden you have a group who are outdoors. And I'm oversimplifying it a little bit, but that really is what the formula was to, and that's what AI told me I should do, by the way. In a very simplified version.
Oh, about Mondami or the other thing?
Well, using the Mamdani model as what I said was apply that to getting kids into the outdoors and going camping.
Do you want to hear what Claude said to me about it?
All right, do it.
All right. So I just asked, why did Gen Z come out so hard in support of Mondami in the New York City mayoral race when they're not social, etc.? Good question. They came out very strong. Over 1 in 4 youth voted in the 2025 New York City mayoral race. A high level of youth participants for municipal elections. 75% of those young voters supported Mondani. Here's why he resonated so deeply. He spoke to their number one concern, affordability. So that's kind of what I was going after, right? Make it bigger. Like many older voters, young people's top issue has been cost of living. He put economic issues at the heart of his campaign. The median asking rent in New York City is $3,599 a month, more than double the national average. While 13.1 million Gen Zers have student loans to pay off. His promise is to freeze rents. So again, here, right? We're not going to go back into politics, but freeze rents, make buses completely free. I'm really having a hard time, Scott. Like, who the fuck pays the bus drivers? The buses are free, but whatever. Create city-owned grocery stores, directly address what's crushing young New Yorkers. He met them where they are. He gained 10 million Instagram followers, 84% Gen Z social media users. He offered a vision, not opposition, which is important. Like many of the time, much of the time in national politics, you see like this guy sucks, this guy sucks, this guy sucks, this guy sucks. I have a plan. What's your plan? And then nothing, right? Like, so it is good that he had a vision. That certainly helped him, right? We can actually promote a vision instead of just our whole platform being Trump sucks. It's an actual vision to improve people's lives, hyper-focused on affordability, anti-establishment. The stereotype that Gen Z isn't engaged may be outdated. They show up when someone speaks directly to their economic anxieties with concrete proposals rather than platitudes. So then I ask him specific policies and details, please, just to see if we get an idea of what they were coming out for, right? But so rent freeze, housing production, free buses, universal child care for everybody, city-owned grocery stores, $30 an hour minimum wage, like how to pay for it, funded by $10 billion on new taxes on corporations and the wealthy. We're not a political show. Just go on to the next thing, Scott. But I have so much I want to say about this. And I am not a conservative at all, to be clear, right? But anyway, so I think that's the answer, is just get people excited about something that really matters to them in their lives. You're muted, Scott. I can't hear you. You're muted. I don't know if you can hear me. You're muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry. No, I muted because the dogs were barking like crazy.
Okay.
Is one, the vision part. I mean, people respond to that of all ages. It's like if you have some kind of vision, and that's kind of what we would need to communicate with this group to bring them out. Because if you flip the coin on it, other issues on the other side of the coin motivate other people to do things. So that's what they need, and you need to. But I think step one is communicating with them where they're at, which is on social media and these platforms, where that's where they are all the time. They're glued to social media and their phones, and so we need to get them there, and then figure out how to motivate them to come camping. And I gotta say, I'm not convinced with the answers I had from I just use chat for my answers, that what can we do to convince them to go camping. I'm not convinced that these are super valuable suggestions. But that's where the research comes in. What I want to do is create this initiative that we actually research this topic. We actually talk about and test some of these ideas, and how do we bring them in. What resonates? What language do we need to use? Where do we need to get them? We kind of know that a little bit now, but who is it that they pay attention to? Who will they listen to? In terms of, like, we're not going to have Bernie Sanders come out and tell them to go camping, but we need to find influencers in there that they follow, that they and maybe it's a series of micro influencers that we use, but to bring them in. And I firmly believe, and we would do this in the testing, is that the way to get them in is to and keep them in is to make them more comfortable being around other people in an outdoor setting, because right now they're not, and that's our challenge.
All right, I asked Claude, I want unique ideas, not what everyone else thinks. How do we convince them to go camping more? This is on the Gen Z one I started earlier, not the Mandami one. And it said, you're right to push back. The standard advice, Wi-Fi, Instagram spots, glamping, is what everyone's already doing, and it's becoming noise. lets me think about this differently. You can share this again, Jessica. The real barriers nobody talks about. The camping industry keeps treating Gen Z's absence as a marketing problem. It's not. It's a psychological barrier problem. And until you address the actual barriers, better marketing just creates more aware non-customers. The competence terror. Gen Z has a deep, often unspoken fear of looking incompetent. They grew up.
Exactly. This is what I've been saying. I've been saying this for years. I can prove it. I've been saying this. I said this at the RVIA board meeting last year, and I literally got laughed at. So anyway, sorry.
It's here. They grew up being able to Google anything, but camping feels like a tacit knowledge they missed. The kind you absorb from a parent who took you camping as a kid.
Yep.
Many of them didn't have that. They don't know how to start a fire, set up a tent properly, or what to do if it rains.
Claude got this from my research. I guarantee you that. I guarantee it.
And they terrified of looking stupid trying. This isn't laziness, it's genuine anxiety. They'd rather not go than show up and fail publicly. They're the loneliest generation in recorded history, desperate for connection, but organizing a group camping trip is socially and logistically hard. What if your friends say no? What if you're the only one who wants to go? Camping alone feels scary, especially for young women, and sad, so they don't go. The boredom void. This generation has literally never been bored. Their entire conscious lives have featured infinite stimulation on demand. The idea of sitting by a fire with nothing to do creates genuine anxiety. They don't know how to be in that space. The productivity guilt. They've been optimized since childhood. AP classes, extracurriculars, side hustles, personal brands. Doing something unproductive like sitting in the woods feels like falling behind. They need permission to stop.
That's interesting. I find that really interesting.
Unconventional ideas that address real barriers. Failure forward camping. Stop marketing camping as aspirational and beautiful. Market it as a place where failure is expected and celebrated. Your first fire will probably suck. Your tent might collapse. That's actually really fucking good. Your tent might collapse. That's the point. Create a whole brand identity around camping as the place where you're allowed to be bad at something. Run a social campaign featuring real camping disasters that became great stories. Whoever the fuck does this is going to be really successful. This directly attacks the competence terror. You're giving them permission to fail before they even arrive. Solo to social matching. Build a simple system where solo campers can opt into being matched with other solo travelers for the same weekend. Not romantic. Think hiking buddy or campfire neighbor. You're solving the logistics of friendship for them. Go ahead.
That's brilliant, because that's one of the things that we found in our research too, that the people they want to travel solo, but they want to socialize once they get there.
Come alone, leave with friends is actual infrastructure, not just a slogan. This could be as simple as a shared WhatsApp group for everyone camping that weekend. The boredom. No, you can't say your idea. Sorry, you're not part of the show. Should we let Jessica say her idea?
Please, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so my idea, just after that last tidbit you guys shared about the hooking up the campfire neighbors, if they create like an app system or an add-on to the system that they already have, where everybody that's there, they can do like a Tinder thing. So they swipe through the people that are at the campground and they're like, oh, this one's only right there. Let's go say hi, that sort of thing.
What do you think, Scott?
Like whoever's already at the campground is in the platform. So you know who's all there and you can go meet people that are there.
Call Joe Dumick. He'll put it on his app.
Are you Gen Z, Jessica?
I don't think so.
You're a millennial?
I'm over 30, yeah.
I think you're.
Gen Z only goes to 28, I thought.
What year were you born?
89.
89.
Yeah, you're Gen Z.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Google said Gen Z ended at 28.
Did you Google that 2 years ago?
Googled it while we were sitting.
Oh, okay.
Gen Z starts in 1997. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. The boredom challenge. Instead of avoiding the boredom problem, lean into it aggressively. 48 hours with nothing to do. Can you handle it? Frame it as a challenge, an achievement, almost an extreme sport for a generation that's never experienced it. Partner with those phone locking pouches that concerts use. Offer a discount or badge if they lock their phone for 24 hours. Make boredom the product, not a side effect. Explicit permission architecture. They need permission to unplug, to be unproductive, to do nothing, so give it to them explicitly. I mean this literally. Create a physical permission slip they receive at check-in. This certifies that name has permission to accomplish absolutely nothing this weekend. It's funny, it's shareable, but it does real psychological work. Pair it with messaging like the only thing you'll achieve this weekend is rest. You're attacking the productivity guilt directly. This shit is going to go in an MC report. Some of it is after you study it and make sure.
No, these are great things for us to test, to get some like real, feedback on some. I love these ideas because it's very rich, and there's a lot we can do with this. We can build on this. Absolutely.
Camping is a rebellion, not retreat. The current framing of camping as escape or digital detox is condescending. It implies they're broken and nature is medicine. Flip it. Frame camping is an act of rebellion against the algorithm, against the attention economy, against being a product. They profit when you scroll. They get nothing when you're here. Make it punk. Make it countercultural. Gen Z responds to anti-establishment framing far more than wellness speak.
That's a cool idea. It won't appeal to a real broad base, but there's a segment that will eat that up.
Skill unlocking with actual stakes. Gamify the competence problem. Partner with an app or create your own simple system where campers unlock achievements. Fire starting, knot tying, leave no trace certification, night hiking, star identification. But here's the key, make it meaningful. Unlock skills, earn real discounts, access to premium sites, or gear borrowing privileges. You're converting anxiety about incompetence into a progression system they understand intuitively from gaming. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it gets them engaged. It gets them, and it speaks to how they do things, how they interact.
The antisocial section. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Oh, the antisocial section. Everyone talks about community and gathering spaces. What about the opposite? Explicitly market a section of your campground for people who want to be left alone. No one will talk to you, we promise. Introverts are underserved in an industry obsessed with communal fire pits. Let them exist in nature without social pressure. Camping for causes, not just recreation. Gen Z is motivated by meaning and impact. What if camping wasn't just recreation, but contribution? Time travel weekends, create themed weekends that give a narrative reason to unplug. 1990s camping weekend, no phones existed, neither do yours. The library model for gear. Gen Z lives in small apartments, moves frequently, and owns less stuff by design and necessity. Create an equipment library with a membership model. For $50 a year, they can borrow tents, sleeping bags, cooking gear, whatever they need for each trip. Returns and cleaning handled. This isn't rental, it's access. Frame it like a public library for the outdoors.
Interesting.
Decision fatigue elimination. Gen Z faces more decisions daily than any previous generation. Choosing a campsite, researching gear, planning meals, figuring out activities. It's exhausting before they even arrive. Offer mystery camping packages. They book a date and a price tier, and you tell them where to go and what to bring. Or decision-free weekends where meals, activities, and even conversation prompts are all provided. Remove every choice you can. Reverse job board. Create a system where campers list skills they can contribute. Guitar playing, cooking, storytelling, photography, and get matched with groups who want that. Gives them a role, a purpose, a reason to be there beyond just existing in nature. Transforms them from consumer to contributor.
I love that. I actually love that one.
A deeper strategic shift. Here's what I think the industry is getting wrong at a fundamental level. Everyone's trying to make camping more like what Gen Z already has. Wi-Fi, comfort, and convenience, instead of making it more like what they desperately lack. Competence building, genuine connection, permission to be unproductive, meaning. Gen Z doesn't need another comfortable consumer experience. They're drowning in those. They need a place that demands something of them and gives them something back that screens can't provide. The campgrounds that will win are the ones that feel most like home. They're the ones brave enough to feel like the opposite of home, in ways that are scary, challenging, and ultimately transformative. What if your marketing said this will be uncomfortable? You might fail at things. You'll be bored. You'll have to talk to strangers, and you'll leave feeling more alive than you have in years. That's a dare, and Gen Z responds to dares. Fuck. Look at that shit, man.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's actually, there's some, I like the contrarian view on a lot of that. That makes it makes some sense. I'd love to test some of this stuff, man. I love to test.
We're going to test it.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a fun project.
All right. I think we're going to try to wrap up the show a little bit early today. So,
yep. No, this is great.
Else you want to cover? Or?
Nope. I think that's good. If you can you share that with me?
Maybe. It's going to be $4.99.
Okay.
This is my new pricing model for everything in 2026. We're going to build so much shit that's cheaper than a cup of coffee that you can get to do for your campground automation wise.
You can't do the 99 cents though because the penny is gone. So
Oh fuck. Well, whatever. $4.99, $4.97. AI told me the other day I had to start using sevens, but that still requires a penny. So,
but yeah, no, this is good. This is good. I like this. We're going to launch this project. It's going to be a lot of fun.
all right. Well, we managed to make it through a whole show without really talking about AI, although we used AI, which I think is impressive for us.
That's good. I think we set a great example.
Yeah, I mean, like we will talk about more of this stuff, and it'll be interesting. Next week we may or may not have a special guest. We'll find out. I've invited one, and we'll see if maybe he ends up being our new co-host on the show. It'll be a mystery. I'm not telling you who it is because he may or may not show up, or she may or may not show up, or they may or may not show up. It's a fucking he. I already gave it away. Anyway, whatever. I tried to cover myself. All right. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Outwired. Really appreciate it, Scott, Brian. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.